Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the Agentic Revenue Engine from usage signal to closed upsell. So I'm Claire Pankhurst, Head of Marketing and Partnerships at PhiX Technologies, and I'm going to be your host today. Agentic Revenue Engine series is here to answer your questions, the questions that we're hearing directly in the field from customers. This is part 2 and it's focusing on usage and consumption. One of the biggest sources of missed revenue for teams running subscription or usage-based products. When a customer is getting more value from your platform, why is it so hard to turn that into expansion or upsell opportunities? The signal's there, the data's there, but somewhere between the usage system and the commercial conversation, the opportunity can get lost. And that's revenue that should be earned, but can leak away, especially due to billing disputes. So today, we're going to look at how agents and humans can work together to close that gap and hear how Salesforce and PhiX are leading the way of working. Before we dive in, let me just hand over to our special guests to introduce themselves. David, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'll start. Hey everyone, David Beebe, Head of Revenue Solutions here at Salesforce. I've been here at Salesforce for coming up on 10 years, and my entire focus the entire time has been on Revenue Cloud solutions, CPQ, billing, and then of course more recently, Agentforce Revenue Management. Thrilled to be here with my friends at PhiX. They do incredible work in our space and are a very trusted partner and member of our ecosystem. So looking forward to what has been put together. Tunde, how about you?
Thanks very much, David, and good to have you on episode 2 of this series. Long may it continue. Hi, everyone. Tunde Mosaku. I'm Chief Strategy Officer here at PhiX Technologies. I'm a Salesforce Certified Technical Architect, and today we'll be responsible for walking you through an extension of what we did for the first part, which is the Agentic Revenue Engine, looking at how Agentforce and Agentforce Revenue Management play well together to deliver customer value across the enterprise.
Brilliant. Thank you both. So let me quickly walk you through. We got about 50 odd minutes or so together. So we want to make sure that you get value from every one of those. And I'm just going to tease you with what's coming up. So David's going to share where Agentforce Revenue Management is heading and specifically the agents that revenue teams are asking for. This is straight from the conversation he's having with enterprise customers. So fascinating insights to listen out for. Then Tunde's going to showcase, as he was mentioning, an example in a live demo. You'll see 2 agents working together, consumption agent and the quoting agent, and they're handling that full journey from usage signal to ready to send quote. Then we're going to close with how to start, including our agent readiness assessment to help you understand where you are today. And of course, we'll leave time for your valuable questions. So if you have any, please feel free to drop them in throughout the session. So let's get into it. Over to you, David.
Sounds good. All good presentations, of course, here at Salesforce start with a forward-looking statement. So please make your purchasing decisions on generally available features and software in the market. This is kind of part 2 of the presentation that we had a few weeks ago. And the key message that we've got is agentic enterprises and what they represent for the future and where humans and agents are driving customer success together. Because at the end of the day, our customers, PhiX's customers, your customers, they ultimately are in business for success, right? To drive profit, to reduce cost. And so what we want to highlight today is how to take humans and agents, pair them together to drive that customer success. So the agentic enterprise, we believe, is one where there's customer loyalty that grows, trust that deepens over time, employees that achieve more and that are more productive, and then your operations that run leaner because your decisions are getting smarter. So over the last 25 years or so, Salesforce has looked into the customer 360 and the goals that we have and where we find ourselves today is putting customers at the center of everything and using AI to transform how we work. Now, I want to either introduce you or reintroduce you, if you're familiar with this, to Agentforce Revenue Management. Now, the purpose of today is not to go over the platform and all of the capabilities from catalog to quoting to contracts to orders, so on and so forth. It's really to focus on the API first and composable ways in which you can agentify your revenue process. But just to ground everybody on the call, and what we're talking about, this is Agentforce Revenue Management. The idea is to power your entire process, your entire revenue process with AI agents, bringing intelligence and automation to every step along the way. So again, even though we are in part 2, I just wanted to remind everyone of what part of the ecosystem we're talking about here. One other quick reminder, and then we'll get into new content for the purpose of today. I believe I shared this on our last call, but maybe you forgot or weren't able to attend. When we talk to our customers, when I talk to my customers about Agentforce Revenue Management, the first question is always, or it should be, what's the ROI? And so we've taken this slide, and this is feedback coming directly from our customers, and we're putting in big buckets of driving growth or reducing cost. Now, on the growth side, it's about speed and revenue capture. So things like increasing deal velocity, closing more deals and doing it faster, improving seller productivity, empowering your sales team, and either direct or indirect, to focus on high value selling instead of admin. And then finally, revenue uplift, helping you capture your revenue through smart upsell, cross-sell, and of course, compliance. Now, on the flip side, on the right-hand side, we attack and we reduce costs through reducing operational efficiency, minimizing manual technical overhead in the end-to-end process, minimizing risk by decreasing the cost associated, again, with compliance, with controls, with accuracy. And then critically, maybe most critically, is plugging revenue leakage, reducing your losses from things like billing disputes. Claire mentioned that earlier, product returns, manual errors. It's all part of the same process. So Agentforce Revenue Management is really the dual engine for your business. Accelerate your top line and tighten up the bottom line as well. One additional slide, and then we'll get into some of the agentic capabilities. This is another direct line into the voice of our customers coming from our product advisory council. So we see, again, value in breaking things into 2 themes, business value and the agentic future. So our customers want a definitive source of truth for their deals, for their contracts, for their ongoing renewals, amendments, so on and so forth. They're looking for an end-to-end solution for the very start of any deal all the way through to revenue reconciliation. The second part on the right-hand side is the agentic future. So customers looking for agents in really high friction points of the revenue cycle. And let's face it, there are many of those that happen over time. So what our customers are asking for, they want agents, but they really want agents to tie together the workflows. And we're going to see a lot of that from Tunde today, which is really exciting. So one example is a deal desk agent. Something that our customers are asking for, utilizing the system's data to orchestrate your workflows, because you've got things like upsells and approvals, and you've got to support these deals. And we take all of that and we automate that flow. Or an admin agent to reduce the cost and complexity of implementation. Or a contract agent to automate high friction legal processes and make sure that your contract terms are perfectly linked to downstream records. So essentially, we're confirming that the AI agents are the way that our customers are going to unlock the next level of efficiency and accuracy. But enough talk about why they're important and what our customers are asking for and how we're listening. Now let's take a look at what's actually being delivered to the market, both through Salesforce in and out of the box faction and through PhiX and what they're doing, which is extremely creative and interesting to help their customers drive business value and reduce cost. So the way I want to kind of kick this off is thinking about your revenue as being a team sport or a cross-functional workflow. Product, deal desk, sales, legal, RevOps, billing, all in harmony and all operating on a shared context governed by actions. Agents can execute these alongside humans, right? So you turn your revenue into an operating layer, not swivel chairing, not handoffs, not the messy middle, as we tend to call it. And because of that, because revenue is the cross-functional workflow, Agentforce, we believe, is what makes it the system of action. So we know who's involved. What are we actually doing to drive this future forward? First is we've got our quoting agent. This is GA, by the way, and it has been for a couple of releases. It handles your quote management to reduce errors using the rules engine, the approved pricing, recommendations, even partner quoting. We're making sure that everything that your sales reps and your sales teams need as part of the quoting process is handled with the quoting agent. So they're all these actions are flow-based, which means that you can start in a very out-of-the-box starting point and then continue to extend upon the actions as you may need them to customize them for your specific business needs. Now, we don't just have the quoting agent. With Agentforce Revenue Management, you can activate agents against the entire revenue process. So we saw the people involved. Well, here's the agents or the agentic capabilities in every touch point. So this is how every single department can move faster, can work smarter, and we hope deliver more value to their customers, thus driving more customer success. So this is a breakdown of the exact agents that we are rolling out as part of the Agentforce portfolio with Revenue Cloud. Our strategy is very simple. We want to provide ready-to-use agents that support every touch point, which we've already talked about a handful of times across your revenue lifecycle. So as you look at the different stages, whether it's products, quoting, contracts, ordering, you can see we've got a mix of capabilities, many of which are GA today, some of which are roadmap, but we feel very excited about the release of those in the next coming releases. One example, we've already got agents for like product description generation, quoting, contract, invoice explanation. Looking ahead, we're building even deeper capabilities. I'm very excited on the left side about the product and bundle creation, partner quoting, collections and dispute. Our philosophy is really simple, and it's at the bottom of the screen. We want agents to automate the heavy lifting so that your humans in the mix, both your employees and your customers, can lead strategy. Now, getting into what Tunde is going to highlight for us today, we love out-of-the-box capabilities. It's great, and our customers really want to take advantage of that. But I do want to highlight why building agents is uniquely productive and efficient within Revenue Cloud compared to other tools. So we understand that you're going to like the out-of-the-box capabilities and the out-of-the-box agents, but what if you could take advantage of our APIs? To actually build your own agents. Good news, Revenue Cloud provides very robust APIs with full control. So we take key processes like product catalog, pricing, ordering, and we expose them all as invocable actions. This is critical for you because it means you can build your agents to trigger complex operations, and you don't need to write and maintain custom Apex code. And what this helps with is it speeds up your development and it speeds up the simplification of automation. We know that many of our customers are extremely well-versed and advanced, and so they want to take advantage of the invocable actions to actually build their own agents. This is purely an example of one. Think about a customer interested in a deal desk agent or a promotions agent. The idea is we work all along this process from the initial conversation between your customer and your agent, all the way through to the response being generated, the data being complete, and answers being given, insights being given to your internal sales teams as well. So we're going to see some examples of exactly how this is built, why it's built, and some of the interesting things that you can do. But hopefully what I've been able to cover for you is when you take your data, when you take your critical processes tied to revenue, and you trust Agentforce Revenue Management, you trust the composability, you trust the robust APIs, you bring your humans and you bring your agents together so that your revenue flows and that your customers are as successful as they can possibly be, and trust deepens all throughout that relationship. But seeing is believing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to stop sharing. I think Tunde, you are ready to take over. So let's see here. Oh, there we go. Stop sharing right there. There's the button. So I think you're good to go.
I am indeed. Thank you, David. Great, intro segue into what we're going to be seeing and showing. So right now, based on what you described, we're looking at the next kind of step or the next level. The agents that Dave showed earlier just around invoice explanation, product recommendation, you'd have seen in the first webinar that we did, where the agent is helping customers generate what the description should be on the product. Therefore, it's clearer to the customer, and therefore it drives more sales, drives less calls into the team to say, what's this thing that you're selling? What does it SKU mean, for example? But what we're doing today is an extension for a couple of reasons. Dave's going to mention around the fact that the agents, the out-of-the-box agents in themselves do a great work, but in the flow of work, I think the phrase now is revenue orchestration. The idea is that the agent experience is an end-to-end flow. So agent starts some work, human picks it up, customer completes something, and then everyone's happy. So that's the flow that we're looking to look at. So what I'm going to be showing as we go through this is a couple of things. So the first one is around a kind of an autonomous consumption agent. So think of a traditional AE who's constantly monitoring dashboards to see if a customer is nearing their usage limits. It's manual, it's error prone. If the AE is not available, then nothing happens. It also means that the customer is leaving money on the table or surprising the customer with overage fees. We're going to be looking at a life cycle and AE's inbox And I'm going to be taking you through behind the scenes as well of what's happening. But I'll talk you through what you'd see first of all. AE wakes up in the morning, and the first thing they see in terms of like their inbox is a message from the agent to the AE that is describing the fact that your customer has progressively over time gone over the threshold. Reach out to them, create an opportunity, for example. That's one. We're also going to have a role play, kind of a recommend product agent that would handle talking to the customer. So customers called into the organization, they want to buy a particular product. As the AEs, as the salesperson is going through the process of talking to the customer, there is a recommendation to that customer as well that highlights or enhances that sales process. Therefore, you're not just kind of dealing with the customer on one thing, but you're giving them a plethora of options as they go through your catalog. So without further ado, I will start sharing my screen. So here we are, starting point in an AE's inbox. And in the inbox, the AE's got like an email. The email says there's an upsell opportunity for a particular organization. So here's our contact Marcus. He's leveraged his allocation for a particular sewage charge and indicates a strong expansion opportunity. The agents also generated some context for the AE as they're looking through. Based on recent conversations, it looks like they're consistently using up their usage, and then there's no renewal top of as a core despite active status. That means, in effect, as an organization, you've left money on the table. And there's action to the AE as well. Connect with the customer, validate drivers, position uplift. So here we're in a tiering position, and ensure that we're capturing the additional value that we're getting. One of the things that we're going to look at is the opportunity. So here we are in Salesforce. We're looking at the opportunity for the particular organization. So here we're seeing Marcus and the work that Marcus is doing. And you can see that an opportunity has been set up already that needs analysis with some information. So there's context between the email that the AE's got and also with what the AE is seeing when they log into Salesforce. So you can see the same message around constant overuse or pressed exhaustion of their particular charge. But what's happening in the background? What I wanted to show you, I think, is just a little bit of what you find in some of the extension. So Salesforce is a platform. And on the platform, there are so many different tools. You have flows. And flows in the flow of work for agents is kind of par for the course. Dave mentioned invocable actions and the APIs. And those are all things that you can leverage as you build out what you need to do. So here is a simple flow. The flow is scheduled to run daily. So here you'd see, for example, the flow runs daily and it checks. What does it check? It checks the products that are in the system and looks for the usage that's been loaded into Salesforce. From that activity, it then kind of picks up on, so you can kind of go through and see, all it's doing is getting your product grants from your objects in Salesforce. The data is in Salesforce already. And then we're looking at a couple of things. So the first thing is how much usage has the customer used and how much they use in the last run. So there is a calculation here as to how much consumption the customer has and then they've gone through. At the point where we're generating anything to say, right, the customers use more than their grants, more than they're available for, they more than likely should move into like a different stage. You then have this consumption analysis action that then kind of drives into a simple Apex action here. This could be another flow, for example, but in this scenario, it's just a simple Apex action. And the Apex action creates an opportunity, and then it creates a notification for the AE as well. So where an email is going out to the AE to do X or Y, as I have to say, right, what you saw with the email is driven by this flow in the process. So here we are extending what's happening with the consumption agent. There is already a consumption agent on the platform as out of the box. But here we're extending the capability of that consumption agent to also add notification to the AE into their flow of work. That could go to a Slack channel. That could go to their mobile phone. So all of those things are actions that you as an organization then uses to proactively help fill up the AE's inbox. So the AE is not racking their brain as to where do I start today. Here they have a ready-made opportunity that is available to be worked on, a customer that is already willing. And the conversation could go on two ways. Hey, Mr. Customer, you're going to get an overage bill because you've overused your tiering over the last X number of weeks or months or however long the schedule is. The conversation can then sit and come back with a, hey, it's a one-off. It's only around Christmas period or around Easter period or around holidays. That's why this happened. We're going to pay the one-off overage fee and that's done. Or it could be an upsell opportunity. We have tiers of this particular grant. You're on level 1. There's levels 2, 3, and 4. Maybe you're in a place where you're pushing on and your business is growing. So the customer can then say, right, hey, you work with me, I work with you. I need to move to the next level and therefore I get the better rates because my business is growing. And you can turn that, instead of a nasty bill to the customer, as I think Claire mentioned at the start, it then becomes like an opportunity for your customer. They can see that you're looking after them, you understand their customer value, you understand what they mean to you, and then you're doing the best by them, ensuring that they're in the right tiers of your organization. On the back of this flow, you can then see like the prompt builder. So just showing the background of a couple of things that happen, what kind of customer it is, the prompt that you see. So this is the prompt, kind of snapshot, record snapshots, look at what you had before, what you have now, a few information as you have over there, analysis, etc. And then you're good to go. So all of that is what drives the opportunity being created for the AE. And the salesperson is then able to drive, oh, now I know the customer to call. Marcus is on my top list of guys to call today because I know he's ready to either go over and cover the overage or go through the tiering. And that's what you see, I think, in the kind of first breakdown of the agentic experience here. So this agent is autonomous. It doesn't need anything. Well, it's scheduled on a scheduled flow, so it needs something to run. But we're leveraging all of the parts of the platform to deliver value to our customers. And they see the value and they're able to plunge more into what you do. And if you think about like what more you could do from here, the agent can generate the email that the AE needs to send to the customer. In that way, you can also see like, oh, here's the email to send to say, hey, I'm going to work with you. They can pick a template if they need to. You can see all the interlinkages and the interconnections of the agent into the flow of work. So we've seen how an autonomous agent can help drive an upsell opportunity for a particular customer. And if the customer likes what they see, the opportunity is closed won, and you're in a place where you have a create and close motion, as you will. You can even extend this to drive outbound kind of messaging to the customer from a self-sale perspective, to give them the same details. The same agent can do that to the customer, and the customer can literally just say, yes, I like what you're offering me, I'll pay, or I'll go through the tiers, and there is no human involved. So at the point where you're then extending that kind of a level of autonomy to the agents, you can drive business value as well. And then the human, as David mentioned, is just doing the lead-in and the check-in to ensure that the agent's doing right by the customer. So that's agent number one, or at least flow number one. The next one is around the deal desk agents that we spoke about earlier, and how the deal desk agent is helping drive upsells and cross-sell opportunities. So what I'm going to be showing now is, here is an opportunity for a T contract. It's for the same organization, Northpoint. Assume that at the point the salesperson has reached out to Marcus, and we're having a conversation about what Marcus wants. Marcus, in this particular case, wants to get a set of servers from us. So as an organization, we're in the place where we kind of buy and sell these servers, just kind of bringing and driving that information out to our customers. So we can kind of bring in the prompt. So I'm on a call and customer has reached out to me and said, hey, here is what I want to get, customer. So customer is interested in buying one of our servers. We sell these servers. We have a Pro 100, we have a Pro 200, we have hardware, we have software, etc. There's so many examples. So here you'd see our agent has responded. So our revenue agent is going to give us a response right now. So thank you for your interest in buying the server. While you get the quote ready, here are some recommendations that the customer might find helpful. So this is the product the customer wants, the R100. And then here is recommendations from the agent. So agents giving the salesperson 3 recommendations to the customer. So customer likes to buy the R1U1 server 100. Of course, that's what they want. But today there might be like a deal going. So you can see here the breakdown of what product I want from upsell perspective. So these are upsell options that the AE doesn't have to think about, like what goes with the R1U100 server. So here you can see like an expansion model for storage that is complementary. So I'm having a conversation with my customer. Hey, Mr. Customer, there's something that you can add on to your particular purchase today. It provides additional storage options, and here is the benefit to you: increased data, better management of large data sets, and oh, by the way, it's only $1,200. Just as in conversation, oh, that sounds good. What else do you have? So you could think about that from that perspective. Oh, I also have a new one. I know you're asking for the R1U100 server today, but there is a new and improved R1U200 server, which is an upgrade to what you have currently. If you have any more needs of those servers within your organization, it might be one to look at. Oh, why would I want this? Why does it fit my bill? Or because it offers enhanced processing power. it's got more memory capacity, and it supports larger workloads. Interesting, you should mention that, Tunde. We have a new data center or a new kind of piece of work that we need to do X or Y or Z with. In that particular regard, how much is this thing that you're pitching me? Oh, today only 500, and I can even get you a discount if you want to. Oh, it's flowing, the conversation. You're not even breaking sweat. It hasn't clicked. The salesperson hasn't moved away from the screen. Everything they need to have a great conversation with the customer is right in front of them. They see how much it is, they see what the price is, they see what the value is to the customer, they see how it fits from a type perspective, and all of this is while they're doing the creation. So if I then say something like, oh, great, this R1U1 server, can you add it to my quote, please? Add the Quantum Pro to this. Something like that, conversational. Because you can see that the quote is created already. And then says, oh, great, look, it's then done the same thing. So here I've done an upsell. So in my world, I can then see a quote line that's been added successfully. If I move on to the particular quote, then I can then have a look. If I refresh that, just look at my quotes, I will then see like, oh, there is an R1U1 server 200 that's been added now to the quote on the quote line. So you can see I've now got an extra R1U1 server that's been added to the quote. You can see the quote generation for the customer. They can see the particular lines. It's the same contract. It's the same details, but you have that world of what the agent has done. So agent in this particular case has done a lot more for us for the particular customer. I can then go off and drive discounting. I can then go off and drive extra approvals, all of those things that we're used to already. But the agent has shortened the cycle for the customer in terms of what they're building, what they're seeing, and what they're doing. So in kind of bringing everything together, what have we seen? We've seen in our world what we can see from a consumption perspective. So in a consumption world, you have your agent who is constantly monitoring customers' usage and driving what's required to ensure that there is no leakage from a revenue perspective. The overages are communicated to the customer in the right way. And from a customer perspective, you can also then see like how they're going and driving and making sure that they see value in the relationship with the organization that they're working with. They see themselves as a valued organization, as a valued customer to the organization. And in the second scenario, we saw the deal agent, which was helping the customer and the sales rep provide options in a sales call, ensuring that they can see more from the customer is able to get more value out of the conversation they're having, and you have opportunities for an upsell within the same flow of work and the same way we're driving these pieces and the instances. So from an overall perspective, you can see like that extension of the API agents, the Agentforce agents that are on the platform on system right now, how we're able to extend those and bring more value to our customers. And we'll see more and more of it. I think, David, you mentioned the consumption agent and advanced quoting. That'll be something that I'll be looking to kind of bring later, or the ones that are putting the products and the bundles together. That will be something that we're bringing as well into the series. So all we'll be doing is just introducing this agent into the market. So each of people can see like, how do I use this within my flow of work? How do I use my organization? Demystifying a little bit of all of the work from an agentic perspective and ensuring that there's a lot more adoption through the enterprise. On that note, I will stop sharing and then I'll pass back to Claire. Thank you very much.
I think it's back to me for the next couple of slides here. That is, thank you, Tunde, for the presentation. I think that encapsulated, or I hope that everyone that's on, kind of saw how that encapsulated taking the data, taking the processes, but marrying that with the compliance required and marrying that with the accuracy that's required in order for an agent to surface the data to your customers. That's one of the things that, so I spend basically every single day talking with customers here at Salesforce globally. I was in Amsterdam a couple of weeks ago. I was in Chicago yesterday. I'll be in Paris here in a couple of weeks, which I know sounds like a lot of fun, and generally it is, but it gets tiring as well. But what's never tiring is hearing from customers. What do they want? What do they need? What are they really focused on? And what we've really tried to do, and what comes up regularly every single time is, we want to make sure that our data is clean, that our processes are tied together end to end, because we cannot show inaccurate data to our customers. It's not an option. Now, that's not to say that you can show inaccuracies in other parts of the Salesforce platform, like sales or marketing or that kind of thing, but those do tend to lend themselves to a little bit more, especially marketing, right? You've got A/B testing and that kind of thing. But within the world of your revenue throughputs, it's got to be accurate. It's got to be compliant. It's got to be secure. It's got to be subject to controls. Because you are talking about things like ASC 606, GDPR, all sorts of, GAAP regulations. There's all sorts of regulated parts of this entire process. And yet, because the data is managed end to end with Agentforce Revenue Management, the agents are going to have access to the cleanest, most compliant data possible. And so what they're showing to the customer will be right. Tunde, great demo. Creative as always. I wish my brain functioned at 10% of what yours does when it comes to putting this stuff together. So really, really nice job. So hopefully what you saw, again, is bringing together the troubleshooting, right? So when you want to bring your teams together, when you see issues in your data or issues in your sales, someone needs to notice it. Someone needs to raise it. Someone's got to get an approval. Someone's got to update the quote. And what you've seen today, hopefully, is removing some of the links and some of the friction points of that chain. Agents working together, right? And so that's what we saw here today. Now, one of the things that I want to highlight is, if you're on this call, you're probably familiar with Trailhead and that kind of thing. So you may be thinking, hey, that's really cool. How can I start to work to build my own? How can I play around with some of the capabilities that Tunde and Claire and team just showed off? So I just want to remind everyone, amongst a whole variety of things that we've got coming up, we have a whole host of world tours. We'll be in New York in 2 weeks. We'll be all across Europe, basically throughout the month of May. And so there are plenty of resources and links and trailheads and all kinds of stuff to learn how to put together Agentforce Revenue Management. And more specifically for the purpose of this presentation today, don't forget, there is a trail on building out a quoting agent. Like, it's there. It says 20 minutes. I bet you could do it more quickly than that, depending on your level of skill. But all of these things are here. They're available. So not only can you learn these things yourself and start to go in and kind of mold what good looks like for your own company, but also Tunde, Luke, Claire, Justin, everybody at PhiX is also ready to walk alongside you throughout that process as well. And no one's doing it better. So I want to thank the whole crew for what they're doing for the ecosystem, for our customers, for their customers, and looking forward to much more throughout the year. Claire, I've got the slides here, so I think I'm moving to this next one, but you guide me as to how we're going to land this plane.
Absolutely. I just thought people might be wondering, okay, so that's fantastic, but how does that actually show up as ROI, or what metrics would we use to be able to measure the success of the agents? It's all well and good that they're lifting some of the load, the efficiency gain, but ultimately, where's the revenue opportunity here for businesses, the commercial value? There's just a couple of points here to be pulled out around expansion velocity. I think last time we talked about quote to cash velocity because it was more around that end to end. Now we're looking at the expansion velocity. And so revenue capture, the overage opportunity conversion rate, that would be a great metric to start with. And perhaps speed, looking at that time from the overage detected to the quote sent. So in RevOps, this is the sort of stuff that you'd get really excited about. I'm already getting excited just reading these out because I think imagine seeing the improvement from day one to how you start to deploy these agents more frequently and they're active and working across more opportunities. And equally, seeing that email land as an AE in my inbox, this is an opportunity. Go out there and expand, build out that account relationship to build the customer experience so that they've been handled proactively. So again, something that's a really cool feature. And the expansion revenue that's captured via agent-led activation. So this is something that your CFO would be like, okay, we're capturing revenue, but we're not increasing our headcount. That has got to be a win-win for all the finance teams, as well as the sales ops and your commercial managers across the business. So that's just some things to bear in mind around how to capture the value, sell this in perhaps to your team. So there's something in there for a lot of the stakeholders within the business that they could get excited about. And then just questions for you guys. I mean, I've had a couple come in privately as a host. You did an amazing job going through this. So in fact, these were early on and we might well have covered it. So first up, Tunde, how does the usage data actually get into Salesforce in the first place? If it's in a homegrown system? Yeah.
Yeah, so great question. I think I was going to kind of come to that in the wrap up, in that a lot of what you've seen is as much dependent on platform features and functionality and process as is the data as well that is used. So your usage data can be from Salesforce or from your usage system. So whatever system captures that usage. You have options to get that data into Salesforce, either via like Informatica or MuleSoft. So you can bring that in via API. So all of the stuff that you saw today, David mentioned the API capability of Revenue Cloud. It is there kind of allowing all of that information to be pushed into Salesforce, or all of your usage data, your rating data, and the calculations that happen in the background to ensure that that is being set from the start. So the data could be living on Salesforce because that's where the usage is tracked, or it could be kind of fed in via API.
Very cool. Okay, so there's something in there around the data foundations. How do you ensure that what you've got as your data foundation is accurate?
Another great question. So we're in that world where the capturing of the data is the first piece. So the capturing is where the signals are. And at the point where you then do the capture, you bring it into a system that allows you to do something with it. I know how much usage the customer is consumed. Therefore, I can have that information also from what they have, what tier they are, what they should be charged. You have that information. So you're enriching the same information. Once the data has been enriched, then actions can be taken on the said data. So you're able to capture, enhance, enrich, and then act upon the particular information. So when you mention data foundations, or this idea of allowing your data to be brought onto a platform that can then serve business purpose, you then have current data, you have accurate data, you have actionable data. And we're in the world of Salesforce anyway, so that data can kind of feed into what you have with Data 360. That is where you then have all your unification. And once you've got that data is available to Agentforce to help with the process for the team. It's available for analytics and insights. You can get insights out of that information. What customer is using more or less, who's dipping, who's not, who's overusing. All of that is available as well. And because we're in the operational world, you can even bring that information into Slack and allow for action against the data from the end user perspective. You can also, if you wanted to, extend that to the end user from a self-serve perspective and show them how you're trending, what you're using, and what's coming. The data foundation it makes things available to everybody, to the humans, to the customers, to the agents, such that the whole revenue orchestration lifecycle is very smooth.
Very cool. Okay. And David, earlier on in the webinar, you showed us a great arc of agents that could perform incredible tasks. How do you go about selecting the right use case to get started?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that and this is one we hear often, I think that the use case follows what your rollout strategy looks like. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of organizations, we have a lot of customers that decide how they want to roll this out for their organization. Meaning, do you want to do a phased approach where you're picking a specific sales team based on size of customer, or you're picking a region globally, for example? Do you want to move into a new Salesforce instance in order to go live? So I think first and foremost, it's determining what is the scope of the project you're even thinking about in the first place. And once you've got that identified, so again, let's say it's rolling out to a very specific sales team that works, in an industry or in a region or with the size of customers. From that point, it's sort of identifying what is the go-to-market strategy there to say, okay, we know that when we are going through our revenue process, we've got a sales rep. That sales rep needs to work with a deal desk team to get approvals. There's a contract specialist that's part of it. There's an order specialist that is part of it. And then, we move that into invoicing and payment. And when you start to look at that, what will inevitably happen is friction points will start to be identified along the way. What I love seeing is customers that are literally mapping out swim lanes on the wall and they're putting up sticky notes. It takes this many hours, it takes this much effort, it's this many people, that kind of thing. And what you'll start to arrive at is you overlay kind of what's available out of the box. Because the beautiful thing about out of the box agents is, the quoting agent may not handle your entire end-to-end process, but it can solve a very specific problem. And you may look at that and you say, it takes us 3 weeks to get a quote out the door. And we want to shorten that to a day, 4 hours, whatever the case may be. And so that's going to be high value because we're getting a first mover advantage and we're reducing the cost that goes as part of that. Or, hey, maybe your quoting is not that difficult, right? You can get it out the door in a couple of hours or even minutes, preferably minutes. Okay, no problem. But your order operations are a mess and it takes forever. And so you start to, kind of figure out where is it that you're seeing friction points and a real cost to the business through hours and effort. And you look at it and you say, I bet an agent can help with that. Because the fact of the matter is, we've got a lot of customers that have built deal desk agents or promotions agents or that kind of thing. But realistically, they feel good about their process, their end-to-end process. And so they've already identified here's where the friction points are, and here's how we can eliminate some of that. So I think it's probably could have just said start small, but I wanted to give a little bit of insight there. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think if I might add one thing, it just kind of to enhance what you said, it's embedding the agent in the flow of work. So where you talked about like removing friction, so the idea is if the agent is in that flow of work and is solving a particular need, you find that agent a lot more sticky than Agentforce implementations where it's outside of the process and people have to go somewhere else to do something with the agent. If it's embedded in that flow of work, then it's a lot more sticky, it's a more valuable to the organization, and they see better use of it. Thanks.
And I love that visual of, the swim lanes and the sticky notes on the walls. You can really imagine that that's a good exercise to get everybody around the table or in the hallway, wherever it might be.
Sometimes
okay.
it leads to some arguments, but it is ultimately
Sure. And also there was something you said there about, pairing up with the people across that process flow. So almost having human plus agent. And so who owns those agents? Where does the accountability for managing them come from?
Sure. Let me kick it off, and then Tunde, I'd love your expertise as well. So, typically the people that kind of own the agents from a build standpoint, a development, a rollout, it's typically going to be, your same audience that manages and rolls out, any Salesforce update or upgrade, adds new fields to an object. And it's your Salesforce administrators, generally speaking, are going to be the ones that own that. But they need to work in very close conjunction with sales operations, sales leadership, order operations, contract specialists, that kind of thing, to make sure that what's coming out the other side is still compliant with what the processes look like. The good news is, again, because building agents can be a relatively straightforward thing, this is something where it shouldn't be a huge lift for your Salesforce administrators, but that's typically what we see. So this team owns the technology with significant consultation from the teams that sort of own the process. Tunde, what do you think?
No, that's spot on. I see the agent as like an employee, the business team, so order operations, sales ops, they're the ones who tell us what the job spec for that particular employee is, right, from an agentic perspective. And then once you've done that, say, here's the job spec, the admin is then the one who's doing the building of. And interesting, maybe even controversial, is the role right now you see around like who's designing the agent, i.e. from a consumption perspective, how much tokens, for example, how much usage is this agent, and how long does it take for a query to respond? So all of those things in the governance framework doesn't go away because we're in Agentforce. That still stays there. All the rigor around requirements of what the agent should do, what the guardrails should be, that would all sit with the administrator and the guys who are doing the configuration, and the business then handle the day-to-day operations of, right now you've got a new colleague who doesn't go to bed, who's always working in the background for you, ensures that you have more value in your day. And that's kind of where the business ownership kind of sits. Okay.
Cool. Okay, any last points that you want to add that's popped in your head while we've been going through this? Otherwise, we can move on to our next slide, which talks about how to get started from an assessment perspective. So what we offer here at PhiX is an agent readiness assessment. So it's sort of 75 minutes. People who are evaluating perhaps Agentforce Revenue Management or considering how to get started with agents. First of all, if you walk us through how you're operating today, and then we could map out those agents and what they could deliver, where they could deliver the highest impact, and the foundation work that's required before activation. And what you get in return is the readiness scorecard. So we're looking across your data, your process, your systems, and the change process that's required. And then we'll look at how ready you are as a business. Then we can start to map out the activation roadmap. So what quick wins have you got versus the data foundation work with some timelines and sequences so that you can map that out correctly. And that's just a really good way of getting started. So there's a QR code at the bottom of the screen. You can scan that or ultimately reach out to any of us here at PhiX Technologies, to request the agent readiness assessment. And that's part of the process anyway that we would walk through with you if you were interested in moving forward with these agents. So, David, you touched on some of the exciting things that we've got coming up and where to find the team in person, perhaps. Otherwise, we're all on LinkedIn. You can find us there. But this is some of the tours that are coming up. I've actually just highlighted the ones quite selfishly that PhiX are going to be attending. So we've got Copenhagen next week. Then we've got New York World Tour on the 29th. And we're hosting another event there. So do get in touch if you're going to be in New York. Frankfurt on May 20th and London on 18th. And if you haven't seen your city flashed up here, there's salesforce.com/events, and you can look at all of the world tours that are coming up in the next few months. And I think we're about on time.
Yeah.
So we'll just wrap up. We've got our contact details there. And I think that's left to say is just a huge thank you. Thank you to the people that have joined us today and also the vision for Agentforce Revenue Management. We're thrilled to be partnering with you and taking this forward. So got any follow-up questions? As I mentioned, we're all available at your disposal. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.